You mentioned you were a lifeguard. You were a real lifeguard? I've never met a real lifeguard.
Yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to swim on my beach, but I was a real lifeguard. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you were a good athlete, though.
Rescued a cow once.
A cow?
Cow.
What made you want to do that?
There was a cow floating off my beach. A real cow, honest to God, a real live cow. And I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a body. Sometimes, you know, a missing person, a body will just pop up, and you kind of like, oh, God, you swim out there and you hope it's not a body because it's on your beach and all that stuff.
Because it's ugly.
Major league ugly. And anyway, I swam out there, and I called the boat, which are these guys who come up from Main Beach, and it's, you know, they're all about 38, 39 years old. When you're, you know, 19, that's pretty old, those guys, you know, and they can pressure you a lot. Anyway, I got out there, and this thing that I thought was a body was a full-fledged cow that must have fallen off a barge or something.
Yeah.
And the thing I saw floating was its stomach. You know, it was kind of filled with a little air pocket, and the head was down, and the tail was down. There was a giant cow out there. And I didn't, you know, the guys at the boat get there and say, oh, hey, nice body, oh, moo, moo, you know, this whole in the meantime, I'm treading water and, you know, 200 yards off the beach. And I said, well, what do you want me to do with it? And they said, well, why don't you drag it into shore? We'll call the truck to come down and get it. I said, it's July, man. I mean, it's packed, people everywhere, you know. I said, drag this cow into the beach. He said, yeah. So they take off on the boat. They said, we got a place to go see, and they leave me out there. So I figure, what the heck? I take my tube, you know, and I kind of fit it around the cow like that. I said, it's working. I start to backpedal back, and it's pulling a little bit like this, and all of a sudden I duck for shore and start swimming. All of a sudden, it gets real easy. It gets real easy. And I'm going, what is this? And swim a little more, and all of a sudden I said, that's not right, you know. And I kind of come up out of the water, and I am surrounded about 30 yards in a circle by this bubbling yellow mass of ooze. And this cow has been in that water so long that my tube is cut right through him like a butter knife, and there's two halves of a cow sinking right next to me like this. Honest to God, and a lot of fish.
Yeah.
A lot of fish. You know, like, and you're like walking on top of the water to get to shore. Except my tube is tied in a circle, so every time it hits a rough piece of water, I'm going like this, back in the water, back to where it was. Anyway, the whole rest of the summer, every time my phone would ring in the lifeguard stand, I'd pick it up, I'd say, Tower 14.